Know your rights. Know your rights. Whether you wake up thinking there's no justice, no one to turn to, lonely roads, mountains of complaints. It's a fight to survive. You got to know your rights. Woo. Yes, you got to know your
Welcome to Inside the OUR, a 5-minute program that examines the issues before the Office of Utilities Regulation and brings you face to face with the people handling those issues. I am your host, David Geddes.
Yes, you got to know your rights. Hey! Daily living is a struggle, high bills, equipment damage. Sometimes you wonder if you have the right.
Welcome to the inaugural presentation of Inside the OUR, a program that looks at the issues before the Office of Utilities Regulation. Our first guest is Director General of the Office of Utilities Regulation, Mr. J. Paul Morgan. Mr. Morgan, welcome to Inside the OUR. What does the OUR do? There are several persons listening and watching this program, and they are not quite sure what the OUR does. Some people think it's supposed to be there solely to protect consumers. Some people think it's there solely to give rate increases. What is the role of the OUR?
I think the first thing we need to understand is that the OUR has been set up by statute to do some very specific things. But perhaps firstly described as the mandate to regulate the provision of utility services to consumers and to the nation at large. Now, the question is, I guess, what is regulate? The idea behind the OUR is that we have to ensure that consumers and the country get a first-class, economical, and reliable utility services. Now, what does that mean? That means that, first of all, they have to be not just affordable, but reflect efficient costs on the one hand, and two, that the services themselves are delivered in a customer-friendly manner, and so on. But essentially, it's to ensure that the service providers deliver efficient and economical services.
And when there are instances of load shedding or instances of all-island power outages, the public says the OUR is not doing its job and it's allowing the electric utility to get away scot-free.
I think the public should more be saying that the companies are not doing its job rather than the OUR is not doing its job. I say this because the OUR, we do not operate nor do we manage the companies. We set the standards that the companies are supposed to operate by in the first instance. And then in the case of an outage, for instance, in the post-incident situation, we have a responsibility to look at what happened and to direct the companies to take the steps to prevent, in all reasonable terms, prevent such occurrences again. But certainly the office cannot be held responsible for the operating deficiencies on a day-to-day basis of the companies. That's entirely to the company's business.
Come to OUR.
You have been watching Inside the OUR, a program that looks at the issues before the Office of Utilities Regulation.
If you've been to a utility company and are dissatisfied with the outcome of their investigation, file an appeal with OUR. File a complaint from available post office island-wide or call toll-free 1-888 OUR. Regulation for all consumer, country and company. No hugs, no partiality. Everybody has rights, so you got to know your rights. I'll be just said that. So you got to know your rights. So you got to know your rights.